I'm Indy Neidell.
And I'm Berns.
And this is the Baseball History Time Machine.
And it is the beginning of Season 2.
No catchy slogan today.
I mean, that was it. This is the beginning of Season 2.
Well, at least it's honest. Okay, sure.
Now, you said last time that we were not doing another Sluggers of the 1970s mini-series episode today, right?
That is right. Today is a standalone episode to kick off another fine season of this weirdness.
And what, pray tell, would that be?
It is something that I didn't actually believe at first, and I called someone out on the internet over it, somebody who posted it, and then he showed me that it was, in fact, so. And it was a bit mind-blowing. And I will say, I'm always happy to learn some amazing baseball feat of which I had no prior knowledge.
I mean, the things we learn here, and the things you've learned, and the things I'm going to learn today, and everybody who is listening.
All right. Well, okay, I got to do some background first, and then I'll get to it after that, okay?
That's fine.
First off, the guy who enlightened me, doing a shout-out, is named Christopher Sean. So here's a shout-out, and a big thanks for this once again. Now, back in the day, like 20 years ago and more, which is even longer ago than when Sgt. Pepper taught the band to play, I used to regularly post on the Baseball Fever forums.
How regularly are we talking here?
I sort of lived at those forums for a couple of years. It's still out there. If you search for Baseball Fever, you'll find it. And it was a great baseball community, and I assume it still is. And it was really there where I learned a lot of my rather broad knowledge of this fine sport.
Okay.
And I did so much of my research. Now, my handle there was Buzz Aldrin, in case any of you out there happen to also be on the forum back then when I used to argue baseball with people like 8 hours a day. That was me, Buzz Aldrin. Christopher also used to post there a lot, but I'm not going to say his handle because I don't know if he'd want that or not.
All the fame that comes from being mentioned here.
All the bitches and money that comes from being name dropped here.
It can get a little bit monotonous, can't it?
It really can. Well, anyway, that's where I knew him from. And a couple of years ago, he posted a thing on Facebook that had to do with Rogers Hornsby.
One of the greats, of course.
He certainly has at least a claim to being the best right-handed hitter ever, and one of the best hitters ever in general, right?
I mean, he hit 400 3 times, right?
Yeah, and he averaged over 400 for a 5-season run from 1921 to 1925. And fun Hornsby fact, he has the highest 20th century single-season batting average for 3 different franchises.
What, really?
Yeah, in 1924, he hit 424 with the Cardinals.
Yep.
In 1928, he hit 387 with the Braves. And in 1929, 380 with the Cubs. And those were the best marks for each of those teams in the whole 1900s.
I didn't know he actually played for the Braves.
Well, he only played just one season for the Boston Braves when he hit 387, and he won his 7th and final batting title.
I would have thought that a Cub had a higher than 380 at some point.
Well, several did, but not after 1900. I was saying this is the 20th century.
Yeah.
Okay, for example, Cap Anson hit 388 in 1894, the greatest offensive year of all time, at the age of 42.
42. What? 42 years old?
388, full season.
Okay, wait. 1894, that was the year that the Phillies all 400 hitting outfield was a thing,
Yeah, we
right?
talked.
We spoke about this, right?
So Anson's 388 that year was only good enough for 7th in the league.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Did he ever hit higher than that when he was younger, maybe?
He did, actually. He first played professionally with the Rockford Forest Cities in 1871. That was the first season of the National Association, and he was 19 then. And if you count NA stats, then in 1872 and 1873 with the Philadelphia Athletics, he hit 415 and 398. And if you do not count them, then in 1881, at age 29, he won his 2nd batting title when he hit 399, 1 hit shy of 400. He did not play for Chicago, though, until 1876, so only that last one was with Chicago.
So are we going to do a sidetrack about Cap Anson now?
We are not, actually, because that would take at least a whole episode to cover the good, the bad, and the ugly about Cap Anson. Fun Chicago and Anson fact that people don't know today, though, if you look at newspapers from the late 1880s, the team was often called the Babies, as in Anson's Babies, and he was often called Baby Anson.
The Chicago Babies.
They just wrote the Babies or Anson Babies. There's a good book called A Tale of Four Cities about the 1889 National League and American Association pennant races that follows the season through the local newspapers that summer because they were tight pennant races. It's a brilliant book, and that is where I first read it. And I seem to remember that it was spelled Baby''S, and not the normal plural babies, Babies. I may be imagining that. I'll have to dig out the book again. I do remember things from the book like Parisian Bob Carruthers began the season for Brooklyn in the AA 24-4, same record as Doc Gooden had in 1985. And John Clarkson began the season in the National League with Boston at 20-2, one win better than Greg Maddox's 1995, before they both started getting tagged for losses.
And as we all know, good friend of the pod, Parisian Bob Carruthers.
Absolutely.
But how did they finish up?
Carruthers finished 40-11, so he went 16-7. The rest of the league is pretty good. I mean, that's two halves of the season.
Yeah,
right?
it's pretty
and
good.
Clarkson finished 49-19, so he went 29-17.
I mean, we keep getting back to the fact that these 1880 numbers are actually crazy. Like, it sometimes baffles the mind how these guys were doing these kind of things back then.
But it was both Carruthers and Clarkson's second and final time to win 40 or more games. And Clarkson, well, he nearly won 50 again, because he had won 53 games in 1885 with Chicago to be one of only 3 players to ever win 50 games in a season. And no one ever did it twice. So he was just one win away from doing that.
The other two being Charlie Radbourne and who?
Charlie Oldhouse Radbourne, of course. Won 60 games in 1884, as every school child knows. Right? And in the AA, Guy Hecker won 52 that same season.
What a name. I've never heard of Guy Hecker.
Hecker led the American Association in basically every pitching department that year.
Oh, geez.
But fun fact, lots of fun facts today.
Yeah.
Apparently. I wasn't planning it.
Fun factorama.
Well, 2 years later, in 1886, he became the only pitcher to win the batting title when he hit 341, edging out Pete Browning. Carruthers finished 4th that year at 326.
Hold on. A pitcher won a batting title?
He played some first base and some outfield on his off days, but the majority of his appearances were the 49 games he pitched, 45 of them complete.
Shohei Ohtani, you have a season to respond, by the way. Let's see Ohtani do that.
I would love to see Ohtani.
I would love to see it. I mean,
nobody's going to complete 45 games.
If we could see that in our lifetime, that would be something incredible.
We might see 5. Well, okay, anyhow, back to Anson,
Yes.
and the reason I mentioned him was when you asked about any Chicago players ever hitting higher than Hornsby's 380 in 1929. Anson had those 2 seasons, 1881 and 1894, when he topped it, but there were others.
Yeah, but forget that. I kind of want to hear more about Guy Hecker. Won a pitching triple crown one season and then led the league in hitting as a pitcher 2 years later.
Then actually finished 7th in batting the year after that.
Okay, go back to him. Why have I never heard of this guy? He's like another Parisian Bob Carruthers.
There's only one Parisian Bob.
Okay, that's true, but still.
Hecker didn't play as long or quite star as long. And he's not a candidate for the Hall of Fame, but he had a good career. He broke in as a first baseman in 1882, leading the league in assists, errors, and double plays at first, and he only pitched in 13 games, going 6-6 in 104 innings.
But hang on. Compared to the numbers back then, that's no innings at all.
No. True. In 1883, he was one of 2 starters for Louisville, the other being Sam Weaver, both of whom pitched over 400 innings each. In 1884, he was the man, pitching in 75 out of Louisville's 110 games, starting 73 of them, completing 72 of those for 670 innings, still the 3rd highest single season total ever, not likely to change soon, and with a 52-20 record.
How did the team do?
There's a reason they pitched him so often. They were a contender because of him, and they ended up 7.5 games back behind the New York Metropolitans, the original New York Mets, because the other Louisville pitchers combined to go 16-20. There were 2 ties.
That year was the first World Series, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
And had they won the AA, then Hecker and Radbourne would have faced off in the first World Series after their legendary seasons.
If Louisville had a decent number 2 pitcher, like a real 1-2 punch in 80-84, that would have been something.
I mean,
that's gonna bother me.
to back up
Yeah,
Hecker.
yeah, that's gonna bother me. Like, that's annoying.
That's gonna bother me too.
That's
now.
like Paul Skeens.
I hadn't even thought of. And to think that through, if they had one semi-decent pitcher, we could have talked about the first World Series. People talk about 1903. We could have been talking about 1884, because Radbourne's Providence, they swept the New York Mets, right?
Yeah.
because of Charlie Radbourne.
Yeah.
But Radbourne against Hecker and those legendary seasons, that would have been amazing.
It's a duel for the ages.
God.
Yeah.
Well, if only we could go back and change one thing,
If only.
Are you going to kill Hitler? Actually, I was thinking of making Louisville win the pennant in 1884 so that Guy Hecker could face Charlie Radbourne in the first World Series. Well, yours is good too.
We're taking Paul Skeens with us. We're going back, bro. Let's go. Get in the time machine, Paul.
Yeah.
We're going back.
Now, Hecker had 4 straight seasons of over 400 innings pitched before his arm began to give out. Well, actually, in 1885, he complained, so 1 year later, he complained of a sore arm already in April. So he only pitched 480 innings that year.
Okay, let that sink in. Only 480 because he had a sore arm in April.
Here, let me look this up. Hang on. Here is his very interesting 1886 season, me quoting his Sabre bio, since it explains it as well as I can. I can edit out any silences and stuff. Okay. The 1886 season started well for Hecker as he was named team captain and won his opening day start with a 3-hitter against Cincinnati. But within a week of that win, he was diagnosed with an inflamed nerve in his right arm. Some on the Louisville team thought his pitching days were over. Through May, he pitched about once a week and had compiled a 3-4 record. Most of the pitching load fell to Ramsey. That's Toad Ramsey. That's me, side note. Who was 38-27 in 588 2/3 innings for the season. And side note from me, he had 499 strikeouts, which is still did not lead the league because that's the year that Matty Kilroy set the all-time record with 513. Jeez. Imagine striking out 499 guys and you're not the league leader. Anyhow, back to the quote. As Ramsey's status with the team grew, he became more at odds with Hecker. Ramsey said Hecker was jealous of Ramsey's success, and it would be good for the team if Hecker were released. An anti-Hecker clique grew, and Guy was soon replaced as team captain. But the dissension on the club continued. Hecker's reputation as a gentleman, and Ramsey's as a hard drinker, got prominent play in the local press. In the midst of this turmoil, Hecker found himself off to the best hitting season of his career. Hitting .417 in June, he raised his season's average to .341. But Hecker's immediate problem was his arm. He tried corn plasters and massages. He tried rest and a lighter pitching load. In July, he finally found a treatment that helped. Twice daily, he would soak his arm in, quote, electric baths at the Courier-Journal press room. He was so convinced of the benefits of this early electronic stimulation treatment that he carried a galvanic battery on road trips. Hecker was back, and he began pitching as well as he hit. Starting in July, he won 11 straight games en route to a 26-23 pitching record. During this period of rejuvenation, Hecker had the greatest day any pitcher has ever experienced in the majors. You see why I'm quoting it? This is crazy. I couldn't make this any better. Yeah. Here's the game. In the second game of an August 15th doubleheader with Baltimore, Hecker won the game as the starting pitcher while hitting 3 home runs and 3 singles with 7 runs scored. His 15 total bases was a major league record at the time, as was his 3-homer game as a pitcher, matched by Jim Tobin in 1942 and Ohtani in the NLCS last year. His 7 runs scored remained the major league single game record by any player. As his contribution in the pitcher's box resumed, his batting was the best of his career. In July, he hit .379. He upped that to .500 in August and found himself on top of the batting leaders list with a .378 average starting September. With the temperatures turning cooler, Hecker's average began to drop, and he closed the season with a .342 average. It took several weeks for the American Association office to announce the final averages and crown the season's batting champ. When they did in November, standing atop the league was New York's Dave Orr with a .346 average, followed by Hecker and Bob Carruthers at .342, and Pete Browning and Tip O'Neill at .339. But many decades later, as statisticians researched and corrected baseball records for the publication of the Baseball Encyclopedia, the revised averages put Hecker's .342 at the top of the list, followed by Browning, Orr, Carruthers, and O'Neill. So Guy Hecker did not win the American Association batting title in 1886, but as it turns out, he did post the highest batting average. Subsequent research has found that Hecker's league-leading average in 1886 was actually .341. End quote. And there you have it. And hang on, let me see who wrote that. I should thank them. Bob Bailey wrote that. Well written, Bob Bailey.
Jeez, what a season. Like, just ups and downs and peaks and valleys. And I like the whole electric therapy thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. It's like a movie. Like, you don't know what's going to happen next. And then the sore arm, a pitcher who can't get along with another star.
Can't get along with Ramsey.
I mean, like, and then he comes back. That is like, and gets a batting title. That's a story for the age. Like, somebody make a movie.
We got
out
retroactive
of
batting
this.
titles.
Exactly, but somebody needs to make a movie of that. But I mean, retroactively, that's even better. Like in the movie, he has this amazing hitting day, and then he narrowly misses the batting title. And then after he dies, I'm assuming that part, of course. But after he dies, it turns out that he was the batting title winner.
It was actually after he died that it turned out.
After all,
I think if we're doing the movie, I think his 1884 pitching Triple Crown season should be the first part of the movie, right?
Yeah, of course.
So you start off with him at the end of that, he's the big star, right? And then 2 years ago, he's got the sore arm, and he's a gentleman, and Toad Ramsey, the hard drinker,
down
is
and
taking
out,
over,
down
and
and
he
out,
loses his
yeah.
job as team captain. He can't pitch, but he can hit. That's it.
I love this idea for a movie.
And because he has that great day as a hitter, and he's back as a pitcher and stuff. But then he doesn't win the batting title.
Yeah, exactly.
Except we find out after he died that he did win the batting title.
I'd watch that movie.
I would totally watch that movie, and more people would remember Guy Hecker. If we watch.
Exactly. But question now, how was he after 1886?
It was kind of a final hurrah already. Okay. In 1887, he didn't pitch 300 innings. So he hit well, but he dropped off in power. And then after that, it was true decline. But in a 9-year career, he hit 282 lifetime and won 172 games.
To be honest, there are worse careers out there. To Guy Hecker. I'll drink to that.
Yep.
So he's not in the Baseball Hall of Fame?
No, he's not. And he did live to be 82. He died in 1938, so before they had revised everything.
All right, that's a good long life at least.
And now,
yes,
because I'm still on my first fun fact, the other Chicago players besides Cap Anson that have hit higher than 380 in a season.
Isn't this episode supposed to be about something to do with Rogers Hornsby?
It is, and we will see if and when I get there.
Okay, but go on then.
In 1895, 1 year after Anson hit 388, Bill Lang hit 389.
Bill Lang, that doesn't ring a bell either.
There's something very interesting about Bill Lang. Now he had a 7-year career, all with Chicago from 1893 to 1899. And he was a real star, a real 5-tool player. He could run, throw, field, hit with power, like Ed Delahanty, right?
Yeah, okay.
Right? Like, he's been called the Willie Mays of his era.
Oh, wow.
That's a pretty good compliment.
That's
and Bill
great.
James calls him perhaps the best all-around athlete of 19th century baseball. He was a demon on the base paths, particularly daring when taking extra bases, and he hit 330 lifetime.
Why such a short career?
Aha. Bill Lang was crazy good-looking, super friendly, and the papers loved him. And after the 1899 season, he turned his back on baseball for love.
Really?
Really. He fell in love with Grace Anna Gisselman in the off-season after 1898.
Wow.
And her father was William Gisselman, a San Francisco business magnate involved in insurance and real estate. He, of course, was absolutely not interested in having a baseball player as his son-in-law. It's not 2026 when you're making $30 million.
Yeah, I get it.
So baseball players, come on, these baseball players.
That's crazy.
And if Lang wanted Grace's hand in marriage, the 1899 season must be his last.
Jeez, what an ultimatum.
Yeah. Bill Lang announced his engagement in March and also to the public that the coming season would be his final one.
And how was that season then?
It had its moments.
Okay.
For all his size and talent, Lang got injured a lot. So even though he hit 325, which led the team,
Good.
and he also led the team in doubles with 21, he only played in 107 out of 152 games. And the speed demon outfield flycatcher played 14 of those games at first base.
You think he was actually in his decline by then?
I mean, who knows, really? He was still only 28. So maybe he had another 10 superstar seasons and the Hall of Fame, or maybe not. On October 16th, he said farewell to baseball at a Chicago restaurant surrounded by friends and teammates.
Oh, wow.
He has been called the most popular player to ever wear a Chicago uniform, although that was then, and guys like Ernie Banks may want to argue that claim.
Yeah, of course.
But that was it. He lived another 50 years and never played another Major League game.
I could never do that. What did he do with the rest of his life?
they got married in April
Okay.
1900, and he went into his father-in-law's insurance and real estate business.
Yeah, okay.
He made a lot of money, and he stayed a bit connected to baseball, doing some scouting for Cincinnati.
Okay.
And in 1913, he actually put on a uniform, a White Sox uniform, to be their spring training outfield instructor. His marriage, for which he left the game, did not last.
No.
They divorced in 1915 after 15 years together. He remarried in 1919, remarried again in 1925, and then had his only child at the age of 56.
Hey, that's almost your age.
And thank you for pointing that out, Berns. That is
welcome.
almost my age. Wow.
You're welcome.
The things you learn here. But by that time, right? By that time in the 20s, he could vicariously enjoy the exploits of his nephew, giant star and future Hall of Famer High Pockets Kelly.
High pockets?
He was tall. See?
Man,
His name was George.
I love baseball nicknames.
We will
so
do a
much.
series on players with great names. Don't worry.
We spoke about this before.
Still on my sidetrack, right? There was... Shh, stop it. There was one other Chicago player who hit above 380 in a season, and that was Ross Barnes, or Charles Roscoe Barnes, who was the best hitter of the 1870s. And in his final great season, 1876, the first year of the National League, he hit 429 for Chicago.
Can you imagine hitting 429?
No.
Can you imagine
not even at the high school level. I couldn't imagine that.
That's like hitting almost like you're borderlining almost hitting out of every 10 pitches you almost hit 5 of them.
It's 43 out of 100 basically.
Yeah, pretty much. That's insane.
Well, it's 429 out of 1,000.
Yeah, it's insane. That's
From
insane.
1871 to 1875, he played with Boston in the National Association. And in those 6 years, 1871 to 1876, he topped 400 4 times.
Jeez.
Won 3 batting titles, led the league in hits 4 times, runs 4 times, on base percentage, and slugging 3 times each if you figure those out. And if you use WAR, he led the league 5 times in those 6 years. Frankly, I think Barnes should be in the Hall just as a pioneer. I think in his day, he really was considered the best player there was.
But okay, then what happened to him after 1876?
Let me back up a bit. Barnes was born in 1850, and in the 1860s, just after the Civil War, his family lived in Rockford, Illinois.
Okay, didn't you say Cap Anson had something to do with Rockford?
I did. He broke in with them in 1871, but he wasn't from there.
Okay, got it.
And he didn't play with Barnes on the same team until 1876 in Chicago.
Okay,
right?
okay.
It was the Civil War, the American Civil War, that spread baseball beyond the East Coast because that's what the soldiers played in their free time. And Rockford, of all places, became a hub of the sport post-war.
I actually have heard of the city before because the Chicago Blackhawks affiliate, minor league affiliate, are the Rockford Ice Hogs.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know the things I learned.
So I know a few things about Chicago because I've been to Peoria, Rockford. They actually call, tongue-in-cheek of course, if a guy gets sent down to Rockford, right, and he goes, oh, he's not been demoted, he's been promoted to Rock Vegas, is what they call it, which is hilarious.
Well, that's where Cheap Trick are from.
Yeah, well, there we go. There we go.
Well, in 1896, the New York Times called Rockford the cradle of American sport in the West. Now, the city itself, it is now, because I looked it up, the 5th largest city in Illinois, and had nearly 150,000 residents as of the last census.
The things you learn.
The things you learn. We got to make mugs. Now, it was only settled in the 1830s, actually, so it was like 30-something years old when the Rockford Forest City team got going.
Was this before the National Association?
Yeah. This was the late 1860s.
Okay.
And there were no fully professional teams yet. But Barnes was the star shortstop, and Al Spalding, the star pitcher, still in their teens, of course. You also got to remember, when I say people were stars, even though there was no professional baseball stars were pretty well known nationally. And Rockford became really well known nationally really quickly in 1867 after what John Thorne, who is the official historian of Major League Baseball, calls the most important game in baseball history.
Say what?
Yeah, he wrote an article about it that I'm sure you can find online. It is called that, the most important game in baseball history, though it does have a question mark after it, so it's not, definite.
You're going to tell us the story of the game, right?
I'm pretty sure you would leave if I didn't.
I'd never come back.
You just leave. And
I just. And
I'd just be saying baseball. It would be so boring if it was just me.
Just mono, just you talking.
Well, I'll tell you the story of the most important game in baseball history, question mark. It was a game between the Washington Nationals and the Rockford Forest Cities. Now, back in 1860, the Brooklyn Excelsiors did the first baseball tour, heading away from the New York City area, which was where baseball was still mainly played. And they played 6 games in 11 days in upstate New York, and then went on another tour 2 months later as far afield as Baltimore and Philadelphia.
Those were really the first tours?
They really were.
Okay.
But there weren't any more the next few years because the Civil War was
of
raging.
course. Yep.
So baseball teams weren't touring, though the sport was really spreading. And by 1967, it was played in most parts of the states, though still more often in the Northeast. Well, in 1865, the Washington Nationals played a few games in the lot behind the White House.
Because of course they did.
Because that's just what you did, you know. Hey, let's go play baseball. Where should we play? How about behind the White House? There's a lot there.
Smash out some
It's
windows.
so cool if you could still do that.
Imagine hitting a ball into the White House.
Sorry,
guys.
And it was Andrew Johnson was president. Mr. Johnson, can we have our ball back?
That's incredible. Mr. Johnson, sorry to bother you
can we have
again.
Our ball back?
It's in the West Wing. Could you go get it for us, please, if you don't mind?
We're not a fan of your policies, but we'd really like our ball. Okay. In 1866, they went 10-5, but they were not in the same class as like Philadelphia Athletic Club, the Brooklyn Atlantics, or the Morrisania Unions.
The Morrisania Unions?
The Morrisania Unions called the South Bronx home, and they were the class act that year in the nebulous organization I hesitate to call a league, the National Association of Baseball Players, which I will talk about one day.
So this is all amateur league stuff, right?
Sort of. In 1867, the Nationals went all in to become famous. They got a bunch of new players, some of the best in the U.S., including Hall of Famer George Wright, who was maybe the best player in the country at the time, who they got from the Morrisania Unions.
Okay.
Each of these amateurs was given a government job, which they may or may not have had to do, and it's pretty clear they were professionals in all but name, and the Washington Nationals went on tour. They went to show off.
Okay.
Starting July 10th, they went to Columbus, Cincinnati, Louisville, St. Louis, Chicago.
So this is a proper tour.
For real. And of course, as amateurs, they refused payment of any kind on the tour, including their travel expenses, all of which was, of course, actually paid by their employers, who didn't mind at all them leaving the workplaces they were rarely at in the first place.
But of course.
The Nats were going to show the American public who the boss was. Now, they beat some local nines badly before their first test. The Cincinnati Red Stockings, also unbeaten, who in 2 years would become the first openly professional baseball club and have the legendary winning streak. But here in 1867, the Titans clashed, and Washington won 53-10.
Jeez.
Then they went to play Chicago's best, the Excelsiors and Atlantics, named after the Brooklyn teams of the same name.
Yeah, okay, and how'd they do?
They beat the Excelsiors 49-4, and then the Atlantics 78-17 on successive days.
All right, these guys were the real deal.
But wait a minute. See, on the way to Chicago, on the way there, they stopped in Rockford for a game against the Forest Cities.
All right, here we go. I know where this is going. I can guess.
And the Rockford Forest Cities, on the national stage, with 17-year-old Al Spalding pitching, beat the Washington Nationals 29-23. This was the greatest upset at that point in baseball history. But this not only catapulted Barnes and Spalding and co. to fame, this sort of George Steinbrenner, Jacob Rupert kind of tour really showed this was the future of baseball. Professional players, and soon enough a professional league, playing other cities in front of their dedicated fans. But it also showed that no matter how good you are, you can still lose on any given day to the local teenagers, because that is baseball.
We got to do an episode about the most important early games in baseball history. I think that'd be really cool.
There's a book about the 100 greatest games of the 19th century that Saber has, and I have not read it. I did download it yesterday from Saber. If you're a Saber member, you can get it for free. I haven't read it yet, so.
So that's how, I guess, what's the name?
Ross Barnes.
That's how Ross Barnes got the start and became, like, I guess, nationally known?
Well, that's how it started. Right?
Okay.
And when the first professional league, the National Association, formed 4 years later, he and Spalding were in big demand.
Fascinating times,
Actually, speaking of the undefeated professional Cincinnati Red Stockings of 1869, Rockford almost gave them their first loss.
Oh, really?
Yeah. See, after the Washington triumph, Rockford was one of the big boys.
Yeah.
And
Of course,
that,
of course.
This is a force to be reckoned with, right?
Yeah, of course.
And they too went on national tours. And on June 24th, 1869, against the undefeated Red Stockings, the four cities were winning 14-12 after 8 innings.
Whew.
But the Red Stockings, in true champion style, scored 3 in the ninth to win 15-14 and preserve the only undefeated season in top-flight baseball history.
Crazy.
Now, Harry Wright, George's brother, was the player-manager of those guys, and he sure did not forget Barnes and Spalding. And he hired them to play with him in Boston, and they dominated the National Association, winning 4 of the 5 pennants. Barnes' career batting average in the National Association was .391.
Was he a big slugger?
He was a slugger, but he was an average-sized guy, actually.
Okay.
And he was well known for not just hitting the ball as hard as he could, but more of what we today would call a scientific approach. And he was also a master of the fair foul hit.
Fair foul hit?
At the time, as long as the ball hit the ground fair, it didn't matter if it later went foul. But hitting the ball on purpose with, I guess you'd call it English, so it would hit fair and then bound foul and, roll far away.
Yeah.
That's really hard to do, but it was not so hard for Ross Barnes, who would smack such hits near the baselines that often went for doubles and triples.
So this is kind of like a loophole in the rules.
And I don't agree with that. I don't think it's any more of a loophole than Ed Walsh throwing legal spitballs for a 1.82 ERA.
Okay.
If the rules let you do something,
sure,
then you're not a cheater for doing it, are you?
Okay, that comes if you want to say like tax avoidance versus tax evasion. One is illegal, one is legal because it's within the framework.
But, look, Ed Walsh threw a spitball. The spitball was perfectly legal.
Okay,
there's nothing wrong with throwing spitball.
Okay, that's fair.
And doing fair foul hits on purpose like Barnes is really, really hard. Here's a quote from Barnes' Saber Bio.
Okay.
Hang on. Robert H. Schaefer, in his insightful article on fair foul hitting in the national pastime, provided a compelling argument that players in the 1870s did not consider a fair foul a second-rate means of attaining first base or that it was a cheap hit. On the contrary, it was universally regarded as requiring exceptional finesse. Only the most highly skilled strikers were able to execute it with consistency. The fair foul was almost impossible to defend against. However, few batters were able to hit them hard like Barnes. Far from being a one-trick pony capable only of fair foul hits, Barnes was a complete hitter who sprayed balls to all fields, as attested by countless game summaries from Boston and Chicago newspapers. If anything, Barnes took advantage of defensive shifts. If the third baseman played close to the bag in an attempt to defend against a fair foul, Barnes hit the ball in the gap between second and third base.
As you do.
When the National League banned the fair foul prior to the 1877 season, few players, managers, or executives felt Barnes, widely hailed the best hitter in the sport, would suffer. I don't think it will affect his average in the least, said Charles E. Chase, vice president of the Louisville Grays. He can bat equally well to any portion of the field.
So now the important question is, did it affect his average?
I'll get there in a sec. Barnes was a great fielder, an exceptional base runner who has both the single season and the career NA stolen base records. Also, like Bill Lang, he was good-looking and stylish, although unlike Bill Lang, he was not supposedly like a friendly, easygoing guy. Al Spalding once said there was once a time when the whole infield wouldn't talk to him, for a couple of weeks.
I mean, there's plenty of guys like that still around today.
True. When the National League began in 1876, Ross Barnes led the league in pretty much everything. He even, on May 2nd, hit the first home run in National League history, one of his 6 career homers.
6.
Yeah, but make no mistake, he was a power hitter with loads of long triples and doubles.
Okay.
But after 1976, after the season, the owners met to discuss rule changes, and the things they thought about eliminating were bunting and the fair foul hits. The plan was to either eliminate bunting or just require a batter to take a full hard swing at the ball or ban fair foul hitting completely or some sort of combination of the 3.
Can I just state for the record that I hate bunting, but imagine if they did ban bunting in 1877.
That's a good weapon. I mean, the course of baseball history would be very different if bunting was banned.
That's what I mean.
The thing is, Barnes hit his fair foul hits with a full hard swing. He swung from the heels. Other people did it like a bunt to chop it like that, right? But what they ended up doing was eliminating the fair foul rule.
So you'd think his average wouldn't suffer as much then?
But it did very badly. And for many years, people thought that he was just a fluke who used the fair foul rule to his advantage. But again, go back and read old newspapers, and you have Barnes blasting the ball all over the place.
So what happened if it wasn't just a fair foul rule being changed?
He got sick. He got really sick.
With what?
Well, this was the 1870s, and medicine wasn't exactly what you'd call modern. In May, he began to suffer from some obvious debilitating illness. Now, as Sabre Bio says, Sabre member Robert H. Schaefer has argued compellingly that Barnes suffered from the ague, a malaria-like chronic disease which caused fevers, chills, and debilitating muscle aches and pains. Contemporary newspapers reported about rumors that Barnes never fully recovered from the illness, which apparently sapped his natural athleticism and speed, prematurely ending his professional baseball career after 2 more ineffective seasons, 1879 and 1881.
Not 1878 and 1880.
No, actually. Now, he only played 22 games in 1877 when he got sick. And then 77 in 1879 and 69 in 1881. Now, looking back, his OPS plus is still over 100, those last two. So he was, hitting better than league average. But let's face it, after 1876, his career batting average was .399 after 6 years of baseball. So better than league average isn't really good enough.
Yeah, that's fair.
Even with the games in 1877, 79, and 81, he still has a .360 career batting average, though.
And I'm guessing he's not in the Hall of Fame.
No, you need 10 years in MLB as an active player. Barnes appeared in 9. Thing is, Spalding and Harry Wright are in the Hall, and they had fewer than 10 technically active years. But Wright was a pioneer executive manager guy, and Spalding started Spalding Sporting Goods.
Yeah, of course.
And all that. George Wright is in too, but he also had the years played.
But Barnes was involved in the most important game of all time, already in 1867, and starred in the late 1860s before Pro Bowl. That's another 4 years. Like, does that not count?
I think yes. I think those 1860s should count for a guy like Barnes.
We should do an episode of almost Hall of Famers.
Oh, absolutely.
That would be cool.
Put it on the list. Okay.
Or like do a series called The Hall of Pretty Good.
Now, but the Hall of Pretty Good is different because Ross Barnes was not pretty good.
Yeah, okay.
Ross Barnes, he's
phenomenal. But I'm saying, in addition to that, a Whole of Pretty Good.
I mean, his lifetime batting average is up with Ty Cobb and Roger.
Yeah.
That's not pretty good.
It's
I think Ross Barnes belongs in the Hall of Fame for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like it to me, man. Imagine being at those two games.
Oh God, in 67, 69.
Can you imagine that?
I have actually imagined that. That game in 1867 would have been awesome to be at.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll just have to be happy with the amazing games we get to see sometimes.
Well, we are happy with that. And I'll tell you what, on that joyous note, we shall end for today.
Whoa. What happened to the awesome thing to do with Rogers Hornsby that you actually didn't know, and that guy...
Christopher Sean.
Yeah, the guy posted and you didn't believe it.
Okay, it wasn't actually Rogers Hornsby that did the awesome thing. It's just related to him. It was someone else who did the thing.
But exactly, you're not going to talk about that?
I'm going to next time.
Come on, dude.
I'm sorry, Berns, and I'm sorry, Chris, actually, and, well, everyone else. We will have to do it next time. And this is it for today, which happens to be Good Friday when we're recording this, and Easter Sunday when it comes out. Mm-hmm. So I hope everyone out there is enjoying their holiday times.
What are we going to do?
Well, what I'm going to do on Sunday, I'm going to hang out with the wife. Maybe sit and watch Jason Statham movies and roast something. Like, maybe there's a movie where Jason Statham lives an isolated life in, I don't know, the Canada or Scotland or the Philippines. But he's a former elite agent, but he lives his isolated life. But something happens to someone he loves and he's dragged back one more time. But it's going to happen. It's still great. I enjoy it. I'm just destroying all our cred, aren't I? Well, I'm going to roast something. Yeah. I used to work as a cook when I was younger, so I'm an excellent chef. I'm good at roasting. But Monday, which is also a holiday here in Sweden, I'm hoping to set up the netting for my team's outdoor batting cage, right? We take it down in the winter. So maybe hit a few balls off the machine after that. So I'm going to meet at 12 to do that. And you can join us if you like, Berns.
Yeah, I will.
Depends on the way. If it's raining, we're not going to do it.
Remember to talk to Mike Epstein's hitting school.
Oh, who could forget about Mike Epstein's hitting school? Now, I did say at the end of season 1 that there's a new website that I would talk about today. I'll have to talk about it next time because there's still a couple of little kinks to figure out. We have, it's Easter weekend and we could sort it out, but we're going to be not
doing that. No.
I like, some people have a way with words and some people not way have.
Not way
that
have.
was just me right now.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, as long as season 2 is kicking off, feel free to help us continue to make these things by joining us on Patreon. Go to patreon.com, look up Indy Neidell's Baseball History Time Machine, and do the good thing. And one other thing, our growth has sort of flattened like lately, so feel free to share these episodes on Facebook with your friends or your baseball groups or whatever, because I think people that enjoy baseball who don't know this, you know, the rest of the world can appreciate the majesty of what we do.
Majesty? No ego there.
The story of the Rockford, Washington game is majestic. It is straight from the Rockford Files.
I wonder when you would have...
I was trying to just sort of not, but... And let's face it, Bill Lang leaving baseball for love is tragic, yet also majestic.
You know what?
What?
This might be the perfect episode.
How so?
Well, you started with a theme, like you did the entire setup for this episode, and you said one fun fact about Hornsby, and then got so sidetracked that an episode which was supposedly to be about something that Rogers Hornsby did not do ended up being about the highest Cup single-season batting averages, great baseball games of the 1860s, Guy Hecker's amazing feats on and off the mound and in the 1880s, and tragedies of Ross Barnes and Bill Lang, and you never talked about the actual theme at all.
Yeah. The perfect episode.
Ah, what a way to kick off season 2.
That was a really good summary of it. We really talked about a bunch
about
of
a
weird
lot of
stuff
stuff.
today. I made a lot of notes when I was, working up this episode. I did actually think I was going to get back to what I was going to talk about, but I will talk about it next time. So, episode 1, season 2. You want to take us home, Berns?
Sure. Okay, share this with all your baseball-loving friends and any person who looks like they might be interested in baseball, since this is, of course, the perfect episode, and we want to share this majesty with everybody. And we'll be back in 2 weeks to dazzle you yet again, like we do every other week. And in perfect world, Indy will actually tell us what he was supposed to talk about today. But that's it for now, from me, Berns.
And me, Indy.
And the Baseball History Time Machine.
Yeah.
Do-do-do-do-do.